I love that picture of you too, by the way. It's very cute.
Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Welcome everyone to Spark and Change with Gigi. I'm your host, Giovanna Tartavone, and today's guest I have with me Bob Fanelli. He is the founder of Body by Design. He's going to introduce himself to you, but we're going to be talking about how do we take pain and turn it into power just by understanding how our body moves. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Gigi. Appreciate being here and sharing space with you.
Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, we're here in the studio, so it's a little bit different today.
Love it.
And we just really, everyone is looking to feel better these days. And, we want to say we're getting old, but really, if we treat our body, I believe, with what it needs, and we listen to our bodies, we can get the messages it needs to really feel better. So help us to understand. I know you're into you're an expert in kinesiology. You are expert in energy medicine and all this great stuff. So tell us about yourself and how did you get into it?
Sure, I can just share so to know where I'm coming from. Yes. So I have degrees in kinesiology, exercise physiology, energy medicine, applied functional science, worked in psychiatry for 7 years. So kind of dabbled around a lot in the different sort of fields that help people heal and move to different spaces in their life. So yes, I mean, when it comes to aging, so I just hit 60 myself.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, it happens quickly. You turn around, you're like, what? There are physiological processes that do happen. I always say, you see the color of this hair. It wasn't always that color, but at least it's still on my head, so I'm good with that. That all of us go through, but we can influence them, right? How quickly they happen, to what degree they happen. So there's physiological processes to that. So if we say you have to keep moving, exercise, we can get into that and how that affects the system.
Yes.
But also there are mental and emotional ones, right? Starting to tell the story of, oh, I'm older now. And, you have to be careful how you're talking to yourself because your body is listening, right?
Absolutely.
So I work with a lot of people at different ages, and one thing I do try and do with help people is if they're telling a story to kind of try and listen and hear what that is.
Yes.
And to see how helpful or not that is for what their goals are.
Okay.
So just because I'm 60 doesn't mean my body should hurt. It doesn't mean I should be stiff. It doesn't mean my knees should be riddled with osteoarthritis or whatever. Right? There are active processes that we can all do to keep ourselves healthy. My cells still replicate.
Correct.
Now, it's a little slower.
Right.
I've been laughing my whole life, but these laugh lines only showed up in the last couple of years. But you have influence, and I think that's what's important. And also, one person's experience with aging is not yours.
I love that because that, debunks the idea that, this is in my family, so I need to have that.
Right. So, and listen, there are some genetic things that exist, but number one, it's not your destiny, right? So we know, and epigenetics has taught us that not all genes are fully penitent, which means if you have that gene, you're definitely going to get that. Many of them are just a switch. Right, and we have to decide if we want to throw them or not, and or maybe circumstances lead to that. I don't want to say that anyone's intentionally trying to do something. But the important thing to understand is, yes, just because my mom or my dad had X, Y, or Z doesn't mean I'm going to have it. Now, you might have a higher propensity towards it, but you have an active process in trying to either battle that propensity, lower it, do things like that, right?
So the disposition could be there.
Sure. So, for
But
example, if
yeah.
there's heart disease in your family,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you have a slightly higher percentage chance of battling with heart disease yourself. However, then you probably don't want to do those things that also lead to that type of process,
Correct.
right? You want to
Correct.
keep yourself on the lower end of those
Correct.
kind of
Correct.
things. Because we do know certain things are going to lead to certain traumas, and you'd rather kind of stay away from them if you can, right?
I do love the fact that you said, mentioned epigenetics,
Yeah,
right? So Dr. Bruce Lipton, I always
brilliant.
say his book,
Yeah,
The Biology of Belief, he does talk about, the epigenetics about if your environment is the same that your dad, your mom, your grandmother had, of course you're going to have a higher chance of getting whatever it is they have because the environment is the same.
right. If you grow up in a house of all smokers,
Right.
the odds of you perhaps getting lung disease or things like that will be a lot higher,
Correct.
right? And
Correct.
also, you may also have a gene that has a propensity to that, right? So we have a lot of cofactors that can create sort of a domino effect here. We want to see,
Correct.
which of those can we control? Also, because, like I said, the body is organic and it's constantly replicating. I think people
Correct.
sometimes think they're kind of a machine and the parts are just in there and off they go, right? No, no,
Right.
no, 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 not at all.
Correct.
My
Yes.
cells are constantly changing over.
Right. And then another thing he says, we're not a victim of our genes.
Right.
Where we used to think that we were, science, kind of dictated that. But as time has changed, we can um, search for other options to address whatever's going on with us without saying, "Oh my goodness, that's it. It's the end. I'm destined to have this."
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I
So,
find, in the fields of medicine where I've worked and exercise, things become common beliefs and we equate common with correct, right? And
mm,
there's a lot of kind of memes and things out there that if you kind of work in the field, we may have moved beyond, but the
yes.
common belief and the common vernacular is still back here. It's just the way it is. Why I could come up with a
Yeah.
thousand reasons, but things really have kind of shifted.
Yes.
And to your point again of the idea that, like, well, whatever your genes are, they're fixed and that's you. Actually, we know that's not the case now. Now, you can tell that story if you want, but I'm
Right.
not sure why you'd want to.
No, it's I was laughing before because I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking of the word belief. In
Mm-hmm.
it, there's the word lie. It's a lie.
Yeah, there you go.
So in my mind, I was thinking of that when you were saying it, but it's true. It's what do we believe? Because what we believe, we tend to act on it,
That's it.
right? And so if we believe there's nothing that can be done, we don't do anything. We just accept it. But at the end of the day, I think that's stealing your joy away from
Yeah.
just accepting an illness and saying there's nothing that can be done. Um, so, I love the fact that if you are open to finding the answers of what's going on, I think the body can also tell you. And I love to talk about kinesiology because I studied
Sure.
that as well.
Sure.
And I will tell you this, I never knew that our muscles tell us how our body feels by using kinesiology. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about that. How does that work and
Right.
how
So
do
the
we know?
kinesiology part that I was most interested in. So my specialty is biomechanics, how the body moves, etc.
Hmm.
Uh, Joints, muscles,
Okay.
functional movement, as opposed to movement on like the table or on the floor, which is somewhat informational. But for someone like me who is a specialist in biomechanics, when you're upright and moving, it doesn't tell me quite as much. So the part of kinesiology that's fascinating to me is the biomechanical part. Like you said,
Okay.
what do your muscles do? How do they move? How do your joints move? How are they driven? They don't have brains. I know, so there's a common vernacular, right? Muscle memory in that way, like literally, like they don't have a thought process. So
Your
yes,
muscles. Hmm.
things get well. And here's what I say to people: if you see someone walking down the street and their feet are turned out like this, did their muscles forget that their feet are supposed to be straight? No, they never knew in the first place. So I think
Hmm.
sometimes when we talk about those things, we have to decide, like, well, what are we using the words to mean, right? Because they're
Correct.
just a descriptor.
Correct.
But as far as pain and things like that, which may be what you're referencing, those things can be stored in the tissues. It's really kind of an interesting process. And there is some science behind it as well, and how we dive into it. And You can even see in people's postures, for example. Someone who's depressed will tend to be slumped over. That can then cause a physiological change to their system as well. The muscular system, the joint surfaces are no longer congruent. All of those kind of things can happen. So they're all linked together.
Yes. I love, and during my time of
Yeah.
digging deeper into how our emotions affect the body.
For sure.
I studied and got certified in the emotion code.
Nice.
So Dr. Bradley Nelson, talks about how when we do have an experience that's unpleasant, for example, I'll say 9/11 because everybody can resonate with that. When that experience happened, if I ask anyone, where were you that day? The memory is so vivid. They know. Why? Because the body stored the emotions I'm getting the chills just saying it, right? Yeah. The body stored the emotions from that experience. And so, especially for the ones that were there, right? The body still, if they didn't get healing from that, if they said, oh, it's over, I survived, I'm good, that's the intellectual part of us. That's the mind saying, yeah, everything's good, I'm fine, I survived, thank God, I can move on. But the body has not forgotten that experience. It's got those emotions stored somewhere. It could be in any parts of the body. And so when they're not feeling well, we're not thinking that could have done something.
Sure.
But in fact, it is because an emotion is energy in motion, and the energy got interrupted because our energy should flow just like water flows out of in a river. And so I use that as an example, how energy gets interrupted by a trauma like that. But that also has happened to us in any situations that become unpleasant, right? So I do believe that our physical body, by the time it tells us something is wrong, it's been brewing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I would definitely agree with that.
So can we talk a little bit about that? Because
yeah, I think to reference a little bit and give maybe some other examples of what you were saying. I think sometimes an easy example for people to think about is like an ulcer, for example, assuming it's not medication caused or a side effect. People can often experience anxiety and be worrying about things, and their body responds physiologically by creating acid in the stomach. I mean, that is a direct link to your emotions and your thoughts, creating a physical manifestation in your system.
Right.
And that can be an immediate thing, or that can be, to your point, to a long-term thing. Maybe when I first have the anxiety, it's not there, but I've been anxious now for weeks. Yes. And all of a sudden my stomach's like, I'm out on this now. Correct. I can't keep doing this. Correct. So those kind of things I think happen all the time. It's kind of funny sometimes that we just sort of ignore that they do.
Right.
But they are all part of the process. And when we try and help ourselves to be healthy, I think it's important that we understand that you're all mind, body, and spirit all of the time. We're very good in medicine and even in exercise and like cutting the things apart and saying, well, we have a core workout or just an ab, or we just do, but the body never works like that. I think it's an okay way to study it. Hey, right. I'm going to study this muscle, but then ultimately you want to say, well, muscle, how do you contribute to the overall system? Because this is a system, and it's living and breathing and changing all of the time, even from yesterday to today.
Right.
And how do I facilitate a level of health for that system? And also, how do I define that for myself?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of education, I believe, that goes behind of understanding, how all three need to work together in order to become healthy, because people are changing their diet. People are a lot of people stop smoking. People are literally trying to get healthier, but it's not happening. So what's the missing component that prevents us from getting well? And I think you hit it on the button, that we're not considering the whole body, mind, and spirit aspect of who we are. We're not just a body, right? And so we tend to want to just fix the body And that's where I believe there's a disconnect that allows us to really reach optimum health
Hmm.
because we're not considering all three. And that was a big eye opener for me when I started digging into, like, with my own health, figuring out how can I, because it's one thing to, have an accident, break a bone, and then go get that fixed. But what about the emotional part of it, right? To understand that we need that part as well for healing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so if people come into me and maybe, I don't know, say someone is 64, 65 or
Hmm.
younger, but we'll just use that an example. I say, my back hurts. And I say, okay, so sure, what happened? And tell me, what do you want to be able to do? Well, see, I can't bend over and pick up my grandkids anymore. So I need you to get me better. Right? So really that's the emotion that's driving that, right? So that brought them to me, for example. Or, well, when I play tennis, I get tennis elbow. Okay, so I know it hurts, but well, because now I can't go out and play on Saturday with my friends. And so it's always connected in some way, shape, or form to that. And I think
Right.
the value in practitioners, and you kind of hit on it, there's a lot to learn to try and help someone get there. And very often, if you don't do this type of thing, getting a tool set from someone who's put the time in can be really valuable because you can just sit there and go, well, where do I start? Right? Well,
Right.
how about this idea tool set for you? How about this tool set? How about that tool set? And see what resonates for them. So, stopping smoking can be a great catalyst to start to do something. But then after that, the body or the mind or the heart might be like, okay, what's next? And they
Right.
don't know,
Right.
right? Like, I don't know how to split the atom. Okay, I'm not a
Correct.
physicist.
Correct.
I don't know how to do that. I would need someone to walk me through that whole process. So it's the same type of thing. And that's where I think practitioners who have devoted their time to it can really be helpful in that way. Listen, here's the tool set on how to take yourself to where you're trying to go, but you have to tell me where you want to go.
And you know what? It brings out a point that
Mm-hmm.
we are, I don't want to say conditioned or trained, but to say I need help or to make a decision to go on your own to get the help you need, sometimes it people don't do it because of that, because we don't want to
Mm-hmm.
ask help because it
Mm-hmm.
shows that we are not strong enough to handle it or whatever the case is. And
Mm-hmm.
then we end up going to the emergency room because we can't take
Right.
it anymore.
Right.
And
Right.
so, I truly cherish the fact that for those who, can accept that we can't do it all. As a
No.
teacher, I know that it takes a village to raise a child. I mean, as a parent, it takes a village to raise a child. Where did that stop? I don't understand. Just because we got older, it doesn't mean we don't ask for help anymore. But we're so conditioned to say, no, we're a big girl now, we're a big boy now, and
Yeah.
until we feel the emotional impact, like you said, I can't pick up my grandkids or I can't
Mm-hmm.
do this, then we finally make that decision. But I'm here to say we don't have to wait for that, because when we finally feel it in our body, that's when we take action. And I now know that it didn't just happen right now, right? It happened, it could have happened 3 months ago. And I just said, oh, I'm okay. Oh, I'm okay. Oh, I don't need anybody. Oh, I can still do it. I remember one time my knees were hurting me in class. Well, they were
Mm-hmm.
hurting me for a while, and I ignored it because I had just had my hospital visits with my health, and I didn't want to go back to the hospital. I was literally cracking my the ball was coming out of the socket,
Ah, yeah, yeah.
and I was on the floor in the classroom. I couldn't get up until I put it back
Oh,
into
yeah,
the
oh, yeah.
socket. And it took me so long to finally admit that I needed help. Like, I was on my knees. I needed help. And it didn't have to be that way. So I lived with pain and uncomfort. And of course, that, transfers to people around me and everything. So, like, when we're not feeling well, and you think it's just affecting you, I'm here to say no, it does not. It affects
Mm-hmm.
everybody around you that loves you or that you love. And so it makes, it's a ripple effect, right? If we put love out there, we
Yeah.
spread love. If we're hurting, we're gonna put hurt out there. So it's so important to recognize when your body needs that attention
Yeah,
and to give it.
to your point, like it costs nothing to be kind,
Hmm,
right? It costs nothing to
absolutely.
be kind. And yes, I mean, I think many of us share stories similar
Yes.
to yours. Um, I had my own two herniated discs at 39. I had signs, but I was buying into a narrative at that time that when you trained, you just heard, and that was normal, and it was all part of the process. And my body was telling me, listen, man, this is not part of the process. You're just telling a story right now.
Yeah.
And you should shift the story. And I ignored it.
Yeah.
And eventually my back said, all right, wise guy, boom. Now I'm healed now. But that was a really powerful lesson for me to understand that, like, well, we just tell stories, we can get engaged in them, we can get kind of lost in them. But really, that was someone else's story that I was telling about myself. That this is how you're tough and this is what you should feel when you're doing. Someone else made that up and I bought it. I bought it.
Yes.
And, looking back on it, not to judge myself, but to be aware
I love that. To be aware.
that type of process is occurring all the time.
Right.
And that I have to sit with myself and be like, is that my story? Is that someone else's story? And if it's someone else's story and I'm telling it, what is that doing for me?
Right. And yeah, it's becoming aware of what you're saying to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't align with your higher self.
Right.
Then it's calling you to change, shift, get help, do something to make yourself feel good. Because I really think emotions are our GPS,
Mm-hmm.
right? It really is telling us if we're in alignment, we feel good. If we're not in alignment, we don't feel good.
Right.
I love that. Can you share a story of a patient who came to you where you did some work that was a little bit different than the traditional work to help them get back to wellness?
Sure. So the way I approach working with someone in applied functional science, which is what I learned, is we look at the actual function of the body upright when it's moving. We look at chain reactions, we look at connections and synergies, we look at context-dependent movements. So I look to see when somebody comes in, if they say their knee hurts, for example. So the body at the moment is disorganized. It's not working as a chain. And the body is designed to pass load and share things, right? Just like it's always nice to have friends, right? Life's much easier. And so you can think of the body as a big group of friends.
Yeah.
And sometimes a certain friend gets overloaded and has to do too much of the work. We'll call it a knee. And the knee raises his hand and says, listen, there's a foot and there's a hip who make up half of who I am on either side. Those guys aren't getting along. I'm caught in the middle with few places to hide, nowhere to go. I appreciate if you look at me, but who helps me? Who are my friends? And by the way, I might have traded off somewhere else in the body to try and deal with this. You need to look for that as well, because I'm all connected. So if you fully want to help me heal, you have to create the environment for healing, because right now I'm overloaded. And the environment comes from all of the system contributing, not just me. And traditionally in rehab, like if your knee hurts or your back hurts, we say, well, we need to make you stronger. Right? So first of all, some of these tissues can only take so much load anyway. So how strong do you actually think they can get? And two, a great example I love is when someone says, I bent over to put the key in the car and I blew my back out. I guess, my back's weak. And I say, well, how heavy is the key? So you literally, like, somehow a key took you out? No, obviously that's not what went on. So I assess 66 different joint motions, transformational zones, how the body talks to itself, and say, is somebody not helping here? Is somebody doing too much? And I look for the people that aren't doing their share and get them back. And then the part that's overloaded just heals. Says, listen, I'm not on my own anymore. I've got friends now. Does that answer that?
Yeah, I think it actually motivates the part to heal.
Correct.
When there's more hands involved to help, right?
Yeah, and I teach people biomechanical movements that I ask them to do. So I try and give them a tool set to do it. So I don't put my hands on people or anything. There's huge value in that. I don't do that. Rather, I say, listen, here's something that you can do to reconnect your whole system. You come in, I will teach you. I'll send you home with videos and exercises of everything to do so that you can restore this naturally. And more importantly, to understand, listen, you're an organic structure. So things may change again, but this tool set will help bring you back into alignment to where you need to be.
Wow. Do you have a lot of patients talking about herniated disc?
Yeah, so back problems are big. So
Yeah.
there are always the classics. The biggest is knee, hip, low back, neck, shoulder. So pretty much everything, and then it is seasonal sometimes too, right? So when
Yeah.
people are moving around more in the summer, you may see more of certain injuries. The winter, if they go down to Florida or do something like that, you'll see more back stuff generally. So it really kind of depends also on what sport is hot, what people are playing. Like, so it's always interesting to me that people go and train in the gym and then they run around, they go play pickleball and they tear their ACL. And I think, well, what are you doing in the gym? Because shouldn't your gym training take care of that for you? It's interesting.
So sometimes the exercise that they're doing can actually create more harm than good?
Well,
depending.
So I think as I've watched it as a biomechanics person, I love going to the gym and I think it's important to move, but it has occurred to me over time that gym training has now kind of become its own sport because we have all these rules. Oh, lunge, but don't let your knee move. Oh, squeeze your glutes. Oh, lock down your abs and turn your abs on. The body never does it that way. Never. When you go out to hit the pickleball, the body's not saying, make sure you keep the knee directly over the toe, even though your hand is swinging across your body and I need everything to go that way. Or make sure you squeeze your glutes or lock down your abs before you swing the golf club. None of that happens. So I think it's also important to understand, like you say, like all motion is task specific and context dependent. And I always say, like, if I walk into a gym and I watch you training, I should be able to tell what sport you play. Sometimes I don't see that. Everyone box, jumps, deadlifts, bench presses, lat pull down. Those are all fine exercises. But how would I know you're a pitcher? How would I know you're a tennis player? How would I know that you play golf? You're like, well, I'm deadlifting. I know. It's important. Agreed. But the golf swing has probably about 75 different biomechanical motions it needs to be able to get through the whole swing. I'm just curious what we're doing for that. I'm not trying to pick on anything. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting. Again, how these types of things don't always translate. And as someone who works in the field, I'm curious about that. I really am.
I can see how you're saying there's all these moves that your body does for that sport, but you may actually be doing an exercise that may go against those moves.
Yeah, and I don't want to say against, I just want to say it does not facilitate that.
It doesn't benefit you becoming better at...
Right. I think it's important to understand that like all of the different things that we do are often very specific to that thing. I.e., I love yoga. It's great. But yoga won't help you throw the ball harder. It's just not what it does. But it does what yoga does, and there's huge value in that, right? And I think sometimes we cross the lines. And we're like, no, I'm going to do this to make me do that. And I'm like, well, it doesn't, like, they don't connect. They're good, but they don't definitely connect.
Right. Each has its own purpose, is what I say.
It's really interesting, I think, to watch as someone who does what I do and go, oh, that's kind of interesting. And what are you using that for? And how can we do that? And, oh, you want to play golf as well? Okay, what if we do this or tweak that over there for you? Because at the end of the day, like you're saying, we don't want people in pain. We don't want them breaking down. And if you're in pain, you can't do what you love.
That's right.
And that stinks.
Right. To live in pain. Actually, I had another guest that came on the show, Carol Knack, and she just turned 90 this year.
Wow, that's incredible.
And so she had hip replacement, and now she's in rehab because she has shoulder replacement, right? Because she said exactly that. I am not going to live, even though I'm 90, I'm not going to accept living in pain. Right. And so
good for her.
Yeah, I she's unstoppable. She sure is. I love her. But to see that, desire to say, I'm going to take care of myself, even at 90, gives me so much. She's so inspiring. Like, I know for me, like, I hope to live to 90 and say the same thing, because we are we don't give ourselves enough compassionate love to our bodies to say empathy, what all the things that we give to others, somehow we
Yes, we
forget to
skip.
give to we skip ourselves, right? We forget to give it to ourselves. How important is that for the physiology of our bodies to
So I think it's hugely important. I mean, so again, as someone who just turned 60, like I'm around peers now, and I can hear the stories starting to be told that I'm not a part of at this point, right? So it's interesting how like the dinner conversations shift to, oh, my knee, and oh, I guess I should blah blah blah, I'm 60 now. No, like that's not inevitable. And what will happen maybe is you'll start to shrink your world because you'll think, oh, I shouldn't be able to do this anymore. I should expect this type of
I
pain
like
or
the way you said that.
limitation.
You're shrinking your world.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I mean, okay, if you would like to, and to your point before about you inspiring, I mean, I still run out in the gym where I work, and I want to be the example to say, yeah, listen, you can be 58, 60, 65, and you can still run around out here and do things. It's not inevitable that you're at this point, and it's you should be X, Y, or Z. Now, again, there are propensities and things that will
Mm-hmm.
happen. I'd love to think
Yes.
that I will dodge aging perfectly. I probably won't.
You don't know what the future
But,
holds.
right. That's why I said probably. But I am aware enough to know. So it's just like anything else. Like, what's an easy example? Like, if I'm at the weight I'm at because I am because of how I move and what I eat. But if I were suddenly stop moving and start eating different types of things, my physiology might morph and change, right? So I
Correct.
do have input to that, to what I want to do and what I want to look like. And I think to something you said earlier, like I'm constantly trying to learn. Right? I always think the day you think you know it, you might as well quit.
Correct.
Right? So who can teach me something else? Who can share with me something new? I mean, I know what I know over here.
Correct. Right.
But
Right.
there's all of this over here that I have no idea about. And what can someone teach me about? And what can I take and incorporate? So even when I'm working with someone's physical body, the psych skills come back up, and I kind of hear sometimes, what are they really saying or not? Are they even aware of it? And I don't necessarily go into it unless they want to.
Correct.
But I'm always using all of it. Energy medicine. I walk by
Yeah.
and I gently brush my hand on someone. I'm not just brushing my hand on you.
Right.
I may be seeing if I want to impart some energy to you, depending upon who it is. I mean, all of those things all of the time. And just, I keep wanting to learn more.
Correct. Well, in the world of infinite possibilities, where
Right.
anything is possible, when you have that mental attitude of, I want to keep learning, you always asking and you're always trying to figure out without saying, you know what, I'm okay. I'll stay here. You guys can go out. And of course, like you said, you steal your joy away, right?
You
Because
certainly
you're
can.
closed and you're saying that, and you're accepting what is versus what could be.
Well, and I think to that point, somewhat like there. So then we show up, right? You or
Right.
I, people like us, and or people who do things, or even a physician
Correct.
or something
Correct.
like that, and say, okay, so this person's in a certain space,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to be there. How can I help them move on? What kind of things do I happen? So, I mean, I
Right.
settled on the physical more than the other ones, just
Mm-hmm.
because that's something that I can offer. But I would offer to people that there are a lot of different avenues.
Right.
And
Right.
if the one you're on is not working for you, don't be afraid to explore the others. Now, they may not work either, but if it's not working, it's not working,
Correct.
right?
You've mentioned, and we're going to talk about body movement.
Okay.
You mentioned like our posture, right? I mean, it's so easy to be like this, but when we really teach our body how to, gain strength, there is a different output.
Yeah, so I think the thing when you talk about posture, anything again, it's not conscious, and that you're not telling all your muscles and joints what to do. You can force them there, but data shows that after about 10 minutes, if you're sitting, you're just going to slump.
Yeah.
And interesting point that you bring up. So the world has changed, particularly over the last couple decades with computers and phones and things like that. And everybody's world is here now. So you start to see postures degrading. We can't make computers and phones go away. But what we can do is give people tool sets to unwind that, right? And I think that's really important. That's where something like yoga or biomechanics or things can come. And I always tell people, listen, I can't tell you not to go to work and sit at your computer. But here's a few things, exercise and motions you can do to take 5 minutes in your day to unwind that, because those positions can become cumulative over time.
Absolutely.
And the body can start to adopt that because, again, muscles are reactors. They say, what kind of stimulus are you giving me? So again, I look the way I look because of the way I train. But if I start to bodybuild, I'll come back in a year, I'm going to look a little different, right? It's a different stimulus.
Right.
And so the body's constantly saying, listen, I'm a reactor. There are autonomic parts of me, but generally I'm a reactor. Can you help me? What kind of stimulus are you giving me? And also, if my stimulus is to be here, then we need to do things that are going to open that up. So even going back to the gym thing, I would say we cannot be training people the same today as we did 2 decades ago. The world's different.
Right.
Like, how can we do that?
Right. And you have all these different types of Pilates coming up and the Orange Theory.
Yeah, they're all like, so I think what we're trying to do is saying, listen, it's important for you to take care of yourself and move. Yes. Here's a way to do it. Oh, that doesn't resonate? Here's another way to do it. Right. Oh, that doesn't resonate? Here's another way.
Lots of options given.
Because we need to get you started. And then eventually we can sit back and say, okay, so of all of these things, like what is most authentic to the body? How does the body do it? Right? That's what we want to get as close as possible. And that's really what we mean about like functional, like what is authentic body? How do you do it? And that's going to be the type of movement and things that is going to speak loudest to the body. All the rest will speak.
Yes.
But if you really want to talk to it on its level, you have to say, body, how do you authentically do things? Because that's what I'm going to offer you back in return.
I love that word because you're honoring your own shape, your own body, no matter how, your own strength.
Right.
When we say, I'm going to go do that because that's going to make me lose weight, I believe you're not being authentic to your body, because your body may lose weight a little bit differently, faster, slower, depending on what it is, what you eat, what exercise you do. So really honoring your body and listening to your body. And sometimes we do need an assessment to say, what is going on with my body and what is the best avenue to take in regards to how much can I, exercise should I do for the day?
Sure.
Based on my body weight and all the different components of
what's going to be most authentic to me. Right. And that. I say it can be an extreme value. I just use a phrase, I like to get a second set of eyes. Right? Because we can look at ourselves, but it's like, I need to bring in a second set of eyes here because maybe I'm missing something.
So sometimes when we are faced with challenges, health challenges, our body becomes disconnected with the other parts of us. And so I believe that takes us so much longer to even get well because, the mind is going 100 miles an hour, telling us the story of whatever, right? And yet we want to get well. We truly want to get well, but it's not happening. What would you recommend in that case?
So that's when I think, so first of all, I would look at, well, what are we doing to try and get well? And if it's not happening, even if it worked for 90% of people, it's not authentic or a match to us. So now we have to say, well, so what else exists out there, right? And maybe it's like, you know what? I've heard about acupuncture, but I've never tried it. And like maybe for me, that will be the trigger that moves me to the next space. Or I've never sat in a circle before with people. Like maybe for me, that will be the thing because we're all unique. So I say there are certain principles that we have that we know are true to all human beings, or we couldn't change the physiology.
Right.
But after that, we're human beings, right? That we're constantly being molded and shaped by what's around us, what we think, what stories we have, etc. So I would encourage someone to explore beyond where you currently are. So even, listen, I work in medicine, the classic medical system, but I know enough that energy work is real, does things. Acupuncture is real. Massage, Reiki, all of these things have value. And the question is this the one that flips the switch for you?
Right.
I don't know, but you'll know.
Correct. And the only way you'll know is if you try it.
You have to try it.
Just like when
Listen, you have
Yes.
zero to lose
Yes.
and everything to gain.
Yes.
And so why wouldn't you want to maybe experience a fuller, healthier, more joyful life for yourself? I mean, give it a try. It's really nice when it happens and when it starts rolling.
And you know what would you just spoke about energy work. It's using your own life force energy. It's
Yeah.
the same energy that keeps your heart beating, right? A lot of people might say, well, what is energy in our body? And there was a sign, I wish I had my phone. It said like it's Wi-Fi. You don't see it,
Yeah.
but you need it to
Right.
live.
There you go.
And so it's there all the time. And if we can learn how to use it, and that was my biggest ha moment during my healing journey, was to understand that we have this energy within us to shift, the energy that's keeping us down, the low energy, because we can understand energy and we can say, you walk into a room and everybody's dancing and having a great
Right.
time. Well, that energy is up and
Of
going,
course.
right? We're all experiencing pleasure from that. Then we have the opposite, where we can walk into a supermarket and you're like, you know what, I don't know, something's weird about this. I have a weird feeling, let me get out of here. And that's, I'm speaking the truth because that's happened to me.
Yeah.
And so that energy also lives within us. That's why a banana turns brown, I always say, because energy is flowing.
Right, of
even,
course.
even
That's a
through
great
the banana.
example.
Yeah. And so to learn that part of us that's within us that can help us to enjoy life better and make us calm, bring peace, like the energy within us. If you're finding yourself, having a stressful day, I mean, I can use my own energy to calm me down. That for me is like, I just hit the jackpot, because then I don't have to go anywhere or do anything and be right where I am to lower that stress in my body, because the body won't function very well with stress, right? It doesn't function on stress. So having that kind of knowledge behind us, like you said, and trying out these modalities to see how your body reacts to them. I mean, I loved it. I took one energy, I remember it was in May. I took one energy session through Zoom from someone who's out in Long Island. And the next thing you know, I think it was July, I went to the city and I took the first course.
Yeah, nice.
So I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. I need to try more. And then I was on this journey of really learning what energy medicine is. And I can, again, I'm the evidence, and you're the evidence that it definitely does help us to reconnect back to our body.
Yeah, and you just hit on like a side bonus, I think. But what it was is you were curious. And so I think that's important. Be curious, right? And then you never know. So then you sit in front of an energy worker, for example, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, not only do I feel better, but I want to learn this. I'm curious about this now. It's sparked something in me. You don't know that could be out there for you.
Right.
It could be, right? Why not engage with that beyond just, I think it'll make me feel better? Go see, go learn, be curious, satisfy that in yourself.
Yeah, I believe everything, has a reason why it's being
Sure.
presented to us. And yes, it's a choice that we make, whether we want to continue on the path of finding and discovering what it is, or just say, no, it's not for me. But everything has a way of just getting into our awareness, and then being open to accepting it is another step. It's like step two. Step one, you actually see it, right? Step two is, okay, make a decision. And so that decision really can be impactful to someone's life too.
Yeah, I'm always
Really.
curious about the timing of those things too.
Mm.
Why like when you're 47? Why not when you're 27 or whatever? I'm just making up numbers here, right? So,
Right.
like, why did I have this stuff at 39? Not at 35, not at 42. Where was I at that point? And the level of understanding I needed at that point, or compassion, or shift in my life. I mean,
Right.
I don't I don't really believe things are totally random like that. So I think the
Right.
universe was like, all right, you're mature enough at this point to
Right.
do that. And
Right.
for me, maybe tremendous learning experience on what it is to be in pain, what it is to have limitation, to understand what those things are, and to know that you can heal from them. And that
They
was the
say our
key.
body's made to heal, and I truly
Of course.
believe that one of the ways the body does heal, and not all illnesses, but is understanding that energy that flows within us
Right.
and how we can use it to help us begin that healing process. Because healing doesn't begin from something outside of us. The pain is inside of us. So I truly believe that the healing has to begin within us, right? Let's talk about nature, because ever since I got into energy work, I mean, nature has been a part of my life more so than ever in my own healing journey, right? So we hear the words earthing,
Mm-hmm.
walking on grass,
Mm-hmm.
um, walking in the morning, let the sun beat on you, right? Because the morning's not too dangerous. And let that sun really touch your body, get that vitamin C going. Let's talk about how that's
So
really affects the
again, I
body.
think what's interesting. If you take an animal and you put it in a cage, it doesn't live as long because it's not out in open nature in the environment, right? Where there's the energy of the earth, the trees. I mean, trees are alive. I mean, these things give off their own energy, if we want to think
Yes,
about it. And human beings are the same. We've kind of created a bunch of boxes for ourselves. I like my
yes,
box,
yes,
but it's a
yes.
box. And even there's data, I remember when we do psych, where if someone was depressed, you could tell them if they go outside to sit under a pine tree because the energy of the pine can help with that type of thing.
Right.
People go hug trees, yes, earthing, walking outside. I mean, I think as species, we're designed to be outside, right?
Right.
There are many cultures that still, we can't do it in the Northeast here, but they don't wear shoes and they run around and they're still connected with the earth and the ground. And I mean, I would be more shocked when someone says there is no value
Right,
there,
right,
right? Of
right,
course,
right.
there's value there. And I think you probably have your own personal experience where you're out there and all of a sudden you smell, the air and you're like, wow, this is me. You walk out like, what a gorgeous day. Look
Right.
at the sun shining. You feel the heat, you know, the energy rays. Of course, it does things for the system. It
Yeah.
galvanizes it.
I think people do feel it, but they don't have the understanding, the impact, how impactful it is to the body. I mean, we all love the beach. Who doesn't love the
Right,
beach, right? We
right.
all love the sand. And when we
The
get
water,
connected and the water, I mean, we feel like we're part of it. And I
very
say, of
primal.
course we feel like we're part of it. We're 80%
Of
water.
course.
How can we not
Right,
feel that we're part of it?
right.
And that is actually healing for the body.
For sure.
To make that connection, that when we're there we feel so good because our body's getting what it needs to
Regenerate.
regenerate.
Good word.
Yeah. So I feel that we understand it, we feel it, but we don't know how to label it,
Right. And
right?
again, like we're not all educated specifically about it. That's okay, but that doesn't
Yes.
mean it doesn't exist.
Right,
Right?
right.
So, what is that phrase? Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Correct.
Right?
Correct,
It's just-
correct. And so being open-minded, exploring, asking the questions, even to your physician who you look up to. There, I believe that you can ask them anything,
Sure.
and not be afraid. Because some people, they say, okay, I remember someone telling me one day, nope, I'm gonna trust my physician. They have the white robe. They went to school. They know everything. And I go, okay, but doesn't mean you can't keep asking to
Right.
get a
And I
solution,
think
right?
understand that they're trained in a specific modality and they're very well trained in it. But it
Right,
is a specific modality. And even
right,
within the medical community, we have different branches, right? So
Right.
my specialty is autoimmune, my specialty is orthopedics. I mean, everyone has their specialty, and I think it's important to understand that when you're in front of that person with a specialty, that's what you're hearing. Now you're there for that,
Correct.
but that is what you're hearing. You're hearing what their specialty is, right? Same if you come to me, I'm going to tell you, hey, biomechanically,
Right.
here's what I see going
Right.
on.
Right.
And so I do appreciate the idea of, yes, you should listen and put great credence in what they say because of their level of education
Of course.
and
Of course.
wisdom and experience. But also bear in mind that that is the realm of which they are experiencing, that there are others out there.
Correct. Correct. So for our audience who are looking for real transformation, to really feel well, so that they can enjoy life again, and are experiencing pain, what would you recommend?
So I think it's important to understand that, listen, that, I'd love to give out the magic wand if there was one. I haven't found it yet, but when I do, I'll share it with everybody. You do have to be a participant in the process at some level. I mean, and I know that's hard sometimes, which is why I think it's important to go to people who can help you in that way, or to have a community that can help you in that
Yes.
way. But it's really rare for things to get better if you're just always going to be sitting on the couch. Now, if that's where you are, that's where you are. And I honor you in that space. But healing and everything from learning toward is an active process. Again, the system's organic. It's active. That is authentic to who you are. And if you want to move to a new space, you have to move to the new space. It's an active process. And ask for help. It's okay. Asking for help is not weakness. Asking for help is wisdom.
Correct.
Hey, guess what? I don't know everything. Oh, great. Thanks. Me neither. Nice
That's
to have
right.
you in the room with me.
Exactly. Exactly.
One of my teachers, Gary Gray, used to always say, Bob, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Right? So we don't know it all. We have beliefs, we have thoughts, we have wisdoms and knowledges, but it's an active process, and don't be afraid to step forward.
Beautiful.
You can do it.
That's right. So how can people get a hold of you?
So probably the easiest way is to go to my website. It's just my name,
Just your name.
www.bobfanelli.com. You can read a little
Okay.
bit about me and what I do, and I have videos on there also that talk about and take you through the process of what it would look like. And also, if you have back pain, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, here's how I deal with it. Here's how I treat people. Here's my whole process. Here's my background and what I do and what I believe, so that you can have a really good understanding of who I am and whether or not what I do could be a match for you.
Beautiful. We're going to put that on in the posting on
Thank you.
Facebook so that everyone can check you out. This was a beautiful conversation.
Thank you. Appreciate your
so
time.
much.
It was lovely.
Thank you everyone for joining us. I know that Bob, has magic hands.
All right.
He does fix bodies.
I
Just
do.
the body, right? But
It's all of it.
it's all of it. But check him out. He's
Thank you.
really a gift to the world. So thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
It's really kind of
And
you
I
to say.
appreciate you for coming. And thank you for joining us. Until next time, this is Spark and Change with Gigi. I'm your host, Giovanna Tartavone. Bye-bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchange.now.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.